Pip, tally-ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London and tell you fascinating facts. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like these videos and hit the little bell because that will notify you when I upload a new one. And today we're wandering from Sydenham here all the way up to Forest Hill and then down to Honor Oak. So let's go. Now, the oldest houses in Sydenham, or some of the oldest, are just down the road there on the right. I don't think we're not going to go down there right now. Woodman Cottage and Priory Cottage. And you can see they're really beautiful old wooden kind of timber. They must be like early 18th century or something. But we're not going in the direction of where Rolf Harris used to live, which is down there, where they found allegedly found some curious materials under his floorboards. That's down there. I mean, the whole area, I suppose, Forest Hill and all that, it's all named after the Great North Wood, which used to encompass this whole area. And then around the 1700s, yeah, there was more of a little hamlet around here. It wasn't until the railways came along in the 1800s that it really started to build up and become a proper London suburb. But Sydenham actually comes from Sydenham. They discovered some medicinal wells and people used to come to take the waters. Now, Daniel Defoe actually describes it in 1724. He remarked that whereas the nobility and gentry go to Tunbridge, so the common people go chiefly to Dulwich and Streatham, and they'd stay at places like the Greyhound. This is the oldest pub in Sydenham. This was here in the 1700s. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look this.
Yeah, it looks rebuilt.
Yeah, but actually, you see this lovely old building here with a dome on top. Originally, this Walter Cobb fella, he acquired a shop there, yeah. And in the 1860s, and then he got more and more of the properties, expanded into a department store, which remained operational until the 1970s. People probably remember going there. Now this place, I think he may have got hold of these ones here as well. So this place is called Cobb's Corner. I quite like this little parade along here. Ah, look, see, Simon, at points. King Edward VII. There's a lot of points for post boxes along this particular walk. So we actually, I forgot to point it out, but we were just next to a George V one. I'm sure there will be more. But look, just across the road here is St Bartholomew's Church. What I like about it is that you can see this church in the famous Pizarro painting from 1871. I think it hangs in the National Gallery. I should say, by the way, that we're quite close to Crystal Palace, but you can watch my Crystal Palace video to learn all about the Great North Wood and stuff like that. But look, this grave beneath this yew tree is that of 10 workmen who died in a fall from the roof of Crystal Palace during its construction. You know, when they did the Great Exhibition of 1851, they had this huge glass building in Hyde Park. Anyway, after they didn't know what to do with it, they moved it down here to Sydenham. And so when they were constructing it, these poor workmen fell to their deaths in 1853, and they're remembered here. But you see, that this big tomb here is actually, I'm going to probably talk about this fella later. He's called Robert Harold, who's buried here with his wife. Just take note. We will talk about him in a bit. And just next door to the church, look, this is where Sir Ernest Shackleton lived. Shackleton, you know, the great explorer in the South Pole and everything, who wore a jumper a bit like this.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, but I think you'll find that mine is from Ralph Lauren, whereas he bought his most likely from Arthur Beale. That, you know, that's is it called a Chandler? The sea shop, you know. And just carrying on here up Westwood Hill, you get these beautiful houses. Look at these, sort of lovely Gothic kind of look to them with these kind of gargoyles on there. These were all squatted in the 1960s. It's amazing you get these brilliant houses that people were squatting in. It's just of course now, I'm sure they go for quite a bit of money, but you see the beautiful kind of details on there, the gargoyles there. You remember from our Brixton video what the difference between a gargoyle and a grotesque is, Simon? See, those ones are called grotesques. They're not gargoyles, because a gargoyle has water coming out of it. Because it is from the French, gargouille, meaning, I don't know, is it to swallow or to gargle or something? The French is a bit rusty. Ah, look, see, the next one here, this one does have gargoyles. Look, that is a gargoyle. Because look, it's got a water pipe coming through it. You see?
Drink until the morning comes. This whole
Joolz Walk's named after, is it David, the son of Sir Moses Jimenez, who was, they were a Jewish family who fled the Spanish Inquisition, who they weren't expecting, because nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. And he apparently planted loads of trees down here. Were they yew trees or elm trees or something? Anyway, those trees have now been replaced with these trees, which are, what are they, horse chestnuts? Conker trees to you and me.
You can imagine Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing living in one of these houses, can't you? Look at them.
I'll tell you who did live here. Eleanor Marx lived in this one, as in Karl Marx's daughter. And she committed suicide in what year? How's your eyesight? Anyway, it looks like 1898 or something. Anyway, she committed suicide, and the doctor that was called to attend the scene was Shackleton's father. He popped round the corner and attended, yeah. Okay. How about that? And she's got some gargoyles as well. Amazing buildings. They're funny, aren't they? It's funny.
You're like Grizzly Adams. The animals just come to you.
Look.
With nature.
Oh, it's like Harry Lime in, oh, hello, hello. Well, this is a very friendly cat. I feel like Harry Lime in Third Man. What a remarkable...
I've never seen a cat do that.
Hey. I don't want to go now. I want this
The
cat.
squirrels are getting jealous. Okay, then.
Oh, you can see the TV mast thing, because that's features in our Crystal Palace video. But yeah, look, up at the end of Joolz Walk here, we've got this nice old fountain, which clearly doesn't work. But this was put here for the to celebrate the Diamond Jubilee of Queen Victoria. Rather nice. My friend Ralph told me that he was listening to the radio the other day, and they're proposing to reinstate all these fountains and make them work again. And that'll be brilliant. Yeah, except the only problem with that is that I've awarded points in the Joolz Guides Furniture Challenge for people spotting one of these old fountains which is actually working. If you see one which is working, you get extra points. But if they all work, then that'll mean nothing, Simon. It will mean nothing.
And in the summertime, and everything next is on in the middle of the silent.
I mean, this whole area now, we've entered Kirkdale, which just used to be the main sort of shopping high street before it kind of moved down to where we began the walk. I mean, here I think it got hit by a bomb or something in the war, and so a lot of the buildings didn't survive. But this looks like it did. Of all the useless signs, I mean, high street buildings. I mean, come on, it's a building and it's in the high street.
Yeah, but if you didn't see that sign, you just walk by it, not knowing it was they were high street buildings.
Yeah, I mean, people just wouldn't know. Am I allowed to play this?
I think someone's just left it there to be
repaired.
Probably.
Looks like.
It looks like the beginning of one of those British sitcoms. You're going to play something and then suddenly the piano will just start rolling down the hill.
Like Laurel and Hardy.
All mothers do have them, you know.
These buildings over here, wooden timber ones, these are pretty ancient as well. Early 19th century, I should think. Older than all the others in the area. Touch me, how can it be? Believe me, the sun always shines on TV. This is the most important stop on this whole walk, in my opinion. You see this place here? I think it's that one there. That is where there used to be a recording studio called Rendezvous, and John Radcliffe, who was the double decathlon champion or something of the world, he rented the space there to Aha in 1983. That's where they recorded a whole load of their demos, including one called Lesson 1, which later on became Take On Me. Take on me,
I don't know that one.
take on me. Oh, what's amazing, I mean, they were skint, basically. They were this skint musicians. I don't know how skint Norwegians are in London. See the price of beer in Norway. But they were in London, and He said you can come and sort of use our studio occasionally in the off time, and he had all these contacts in the music industry, and he eventually managed to hook them up with Warner Brothers. Oh, come on, man!
It's for sale, so if, oh, sorry, it's sold. It's sold. Sorry, Aha fans, you've missed out.
A few points here. Look, King George V postbox, rather like that. Because I've been hunting high and low for one of those. And now she's telling me she's got to go away. I used to think I was Morton from Aha. I actually ripped all my jeans and I got those kind of leather things around my wrists. And when I came into bowl in cricket at school, every time I bowled, this long, 30-foot long leather kind of bracelet thing would unravel. And on walking back to my run-up, I always had to sort of do it up again. Anyway, look, we're walking down Dartmouth Road here. And here at Mr. Pizza, number 221, you see, that's where they lived. That older, yes. This Ratcliffe fella, he rented them a room here, or a flat here, this tiny little place there. And they used to climb out the back window and run across the roofs and in through the back window of the recording studio, where they had a Space Invaders machine. Remember those old Space Invaders machines, the tabletop ones? Those are really cool. And so apparently they really liked that.
It's a nice vintage NHS hospital side table there. You can pick one up for about £5 in the charity shop if you're lucky.
They had quite good videos, didn't they? Quite like
they're
Aha
famous.
videos.
Yeah. The Take on Me is probably one of the.
Yeah, but even the hunting high and low video is quite cool, where he dives and he turns into a whale or something, and then he turns into a stag and he's getting hunted. My friend went to see them. She went all the way to Oslo to go and see them, and then. You know how expensive it is in Norway as well. She spent loads of money, went there, and then he cancelled the performance at the last minute because he had laryngitis. She was furious. Poor old Laura. Take on me, take on me, take me on, take on me. I'll be gone in a day or two. Oh, that's the hardest karaoke song to sing. You have to really squeeze your nuts on that last one. I saw him doing a live version a bit more recently, and I think he kind of bottled out of that high bit at the end. Look at this. It's amazing. St. Antholin's spire, this is. Now, St. Antholin was a church up in, near Mansion House Station, up in the city. And this was designed by Sir Christopher Wren, the man who started the Fire of London, or so I say. He didn't really. But where should we go? Let's go up here. Yeah, because he got so much work out of, he designed all these different churches, didn't he, after the Great Fire of London. He did St. Paul's Cathedral, obviously, and all those churches, including this one. But what's interesting about it is that the spire, normally they're kind of like timber framed spires, and they've I don't know, decorate on the outside with tiles or something. But this one is a completely stone spire, and it became too heavy. So this is from the 1600s when that was built. But maybe it got hit by lightning or something. Anyway, they had to take it down. And that fellow who we saw buried in the churchyard at St. Bartholomew, who's Robert Harold, he bought it and he erected it here as the magnificent erection that you see before you.
It's funny though, isn't it? I mean, it feels like the church itself is buried into the ground, and it's just built up around it.
He became famous and very rich after inventing a new form of printing machinery, which used composite rollers rather than handheld leather balls to apply ink to newspaper. Simon, do you ever use handheld leather balls?
Yes, all the time, Julian.
Probably what inspired him.
Inspired him.
Oh, very good, very good. See, down here, now behind these houses, I believe this is where the old canal ran. So the Croydon Canal, it connected I think it connected to the Grand Surrey Canal, which is the one that we talked about in our Surrey Docks video, Rotherhithe, and it went all the way up through Peckham. And it used to come down the back here, and some of these shops here, you could go and hire boats and things to go off down the canal. But then look, you see the train going down there now. After about 30 years of this canal existing, they just decided it wasn't really much use, and they replaced it with the railway there. So now the railway sort of follows the same line. What?
Is he in?
I love this. They just used that as a kind of like a sort of temporary whiteboard, a noteboard. No, I've just gone out.
Imagine. I've just painted that.
Look at that. This used to be a Sainsbury. Isn't that nice? So I like it when they keep these old details here. It's just a British Red Cross, a lovely old Sainsbury thing there. Should we do your favourite new feature, Simon? Check out some of the properties in the local area. Well, this is
Looking for a 2-bed.
I mean, I definitely noticed that it as we came down that road there towards Forest Hill. We're now in Forest Hill proper. Mm-hmm. Yes, it seems quite salubrious around here, doesn't it? It seems a bit posh. Posher. 600,000 for that. Doesn't say how many bedrooms. Rising to 1.4 million.
Yeah, that's
some properties around here.
Look at that. Detached, wouldn't it? That's probably a flat, that one.
700 grand there for that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, bargain.
This is Simon's favourite feature on Joolz Guide.
It ain't.
It
I
is.
just thought maybe it could be a feature. Just, interesting, isn't it?
Look, we're just walking up London Road here, and look across the road there. See, where the Spoon pubs. You've got to thank them really for saving a lot of these old buildings. I mean, that was a 1929 Art Deco cinema, and they were going to tear it down. It's beautiful inside.
Please give me another smile. We'll be far away and I could show you our love.
Lovely mural. Very striking. Very striking.
Yes.
That's what you need on a book cover, you see, Julian.
What, do you mean like Joolz Guide's rather splendid London walks available to purchase via the links below? Look, I'm not going to go on about it again, but yeah, look, 20 amazing walks featuring me, lots of challenges, fun, excitement, humour, banter. Don't forget to get your hands on a copy. Come on, I keep going on about it. People are getting bored now. We're here just opposite Forest Hill Station. This is where the canal used to come. It would come along where the rail track was, and up here. And so this was the towpath up on the side there. You can see where it's raised slightly. So the canal would have gone along there. We have to cut to some images, as I often do when I'm making Joolz Guides. I have to cut to some images that I've taken on a nicer day, because I quite like to be able to see a blue sky, I'm finding hard to look. So, you don't know that song by Aha? But won't she laugh at my accent and make fun of me? Blue skies come and go. Look at these beautiful cafes and things along here. Look at that, isn't that lovely? So look, it's got all the different things of the area. And look, this is the canal that went along here.
Yeah.
And images from the Industrial Revolution and stuff. I suspect this must be the oak. Are these oak leaves? Because it's got a crown here, so this must be the Honour Oak, which we are going to later.
A slow train's carrying me away.
We're not going all the way down there, but number 2 Sunderland Road is where John Surtees' family had their bike shop. John Surtees was the only person ever to have won the World Championship on 2 wheels as well as 4 wheels. So he won the Formula 1 and he also won the motorbike championship. Anyway, it's all the way down there. Yeah. I'm not going to walk there today. I'll go on another day when it's a bit more sunny. I'll go get a shot.
Yeah, well, the sun always shines on the TV, Julian, so...
Touch me, I'll always be. Exciting. Hello.
Hello there.
I'm Julian.
John.
John, you're John Parris.
Yeah.
He's the famous. This is him.
John Parris himself.
Excellent. This is the famous John Parris who makes all the snooker cues for the snooker players.
We actually cut Steve Davis's cue in half. He had a one-piece cue and said, I'm fed up with carrying this round. Everyone's got a 3/4 one now. I've actually got a picture of me somewhere actually sawing the multi-world champion's cue in 2 pieces. Trees don't like to grow in a straight line, so and a lot of them the grain's very sort of wavy. So what I'm looking for is nice straight grain, the density of the wood and things like that.
If I wanted to get a queue, how long would I have to wait?
We've got various models, so it ranges from probably about 8 to 10 months up to about sort of 6 or 7 years. Shame you weren't here last week. We had Ronnie's queue in. You could have actually filmed Ronnie's queue.
So if you find a really good piece of wood, do you like sort of phone up some of your favourite players and go, "Oh, Ronnie, yeah, guess what? I found this brilliant bit of wood here." He doesn't have to wait 10 years, presumably.
Funnily enough, no.
He's always moaning about his tip. Is that your fault, or is it?
No, actually, the last tournament he was in, it kept falling off, and luckily it wasn't us that had put it on in the first place, that one. He had somebody else put it on. From a shaft, ebony's glued on. They're planed down on 4 sides, like this. So, you know, and then when it's rounded off, the ebony will take the place of the wood that's been planed away, which will then give you the nice points on the queue. We can then inlay various other sort of exotic woods on to give it a bit of decoration. I mean, these are some of the woods that I was telling you about that are hard to come by, you know, snake wood, tulip wood.
But honestly, that is smooth as a baby's bottom, which is more than can be said for my bottom. Who's the most famous non-snooker player that you made a cube for?
Ronnie Woods had a few. We had a really good night, actually, just that. We played a couple of games of snooker. At the end of the night, I said, well, you know, what one did you want? And he said, "Oh, I'll take all of them." The Crown Prince of Bahrain as well. That was the first of Forest Hill. We had these 3 limos come down the road. He was in the middle one and it just pulled up out the front there. And all these big guys got out the front and the back. They ended up flying me to Brunei. I said, "Well, what was it he wants?" "Well, I don't know, but he wants to see you." So the tip was loose, basically, when I got there in the end. He said, "It's making a noise." I went, "The tip's coming off."
Should I have a longer queue than other people?
I'll measure you up later on and we'll see. Just hold that position if you could for a moment. God.
Oh, he's got they're technical here, aren't they?
It's like being at the tailors in Savile Row. That's amazing.
Right, so you want to be somewhere in between the two.
Thanks, John. Lovely to meet you. Thanks.
Thanks for coming in.
Cheers.
Bye.
Excellent.
This is the summertime, and I breathe the next to someone in the middle of the silence black night.
Sainsbury's, a far cry from its humble beginnings, from the corner that we just saw down there.
This sort of insightful remark is in jeopardy because Simon has been threatening to abandon Joolz guides and leave London. So show him the love, man, by going to his website.
AlexanderEdward.com.
AlexanderEdward.com, or follow him on Instagram, AlexEdwardland. Buy some of his jewellery, show him the love, tell him you don't want him to leave. I might have to send vintage Joolz. So vintage Joolz went to the Horniman Museum, so I very highly recommend the Horniman Museum up this hill. Now, some people think you'll get a nosebleed if you go south of the river, but in fact, some of Britain's greatest treasures are here at the Horniman Museum. Paolo, nice to see you. Now, Frederick John Horniman was a tea trader who travelled all around the world collecting amazing stuff, which he kept in his house until his wife got a bit fed up with it.
The idea is that he was a genuine philanthropist. He got all this stuff together because he was interested in it, put them into a beautiful building, and to actually give them to the public forever. We've got about 250,000 objects in natural history alone. There are some quite cool things in here. These are some of the scarab beetles.
Everything. This is a Tridacnidae and a Spondylilililili. Now, I've heard about this walrus, and someone told me that I have to definitely ask you about this walrus.
It's referred to as the overstuffed walrus. And I think the taxidermist has probably never seen a walrus before. You're talking about the 19th, 18th centuries. If you don't know what something looks like, it's really hard to make a good taxidermy representation of it. So you can just about make out these thin lines that run like this around the chest. So that's where they have these big kind of folds of skin and blubber, which actually act as armour when they're fighting. So it kind of stops them from getting very, very seriously injured by these big tusks.
This one sort of had a facelift, really.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. It's just been a bit pulled a bit tight. And they're probably looking at things which are most similar, like seals. Apparently Queen Victoria said he was a magnificent specimen. The majority of the animal kingdom covered in to some extent. We've got all sorts of weird, wonderful things. The moon rat's brilliant as well.
Lay down on my bed just to look at your hands.
That's Shiva and Kali.
Oh, like in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Kind of, yeah.
You betrayed Sheba. Drop them, Dr. Jones. They will be found. You won't.
There really were people going out and doing that whole Indiana Jones thing of going to different parts of the world, talking to the people who lived there and actually trying to get an understanding of why they had this really amazing stuff.
It belongs in a museum.
So this is a mermaid that we've got in the collection.
Yeah, right.
And this is made in Japan between, I think, 1854 and 1881.
It's a merman.
Merman, yeah, mermaid, merman. They're actually at Ningyo, which is the Japanese name for them. So we actually have all sorts of information about this kind of construction of the specimen. It's a really, really cool object.
Hardly surprising that his wife didn't want to live in the same house as all this stuff, to be honest.
This is the original conservatory that was attached to the Horniman's house. I mean, it's a beautiful little space, and we have concerts there in the summer and so on. So, because it's winter and there are no leaves on the trees, you do get probably the best view of London from the museum. It's just glorious.
Along on an Oak Road here, some of these houses, I mean obviously not those ones, but some of them are from like the 1780s. I don't know, that one might be. Looks pretty old, looks like quite a nice old one. But you get some, all along here, was some of the more salubrious houses of the age until they replaced it with all this. Is that a fire insurance plaque in Imperial? I think that could be. Or it's a property marker. I don't know everything, do I? I don't know everything. Anyway, lovely. The soft rains of April are over. Sorry, I've got Aha on the brain now. We've come here down to, oh, it's so hilly, I'm exhausted. On the corner of Brenchley Gardens and Forest Hill Road. Now just over there is the Camberwell Old Cemetery, and these buildings, these new buildings on the left there, that's where the old Honor Oak railway station used to be. That was a part of the old railway that went to Crystal Palace. Okay. And then knocked that down. So if you see my Crystal Palace video, I think it's that same one because you can see where the old railway track, they've now got houses there as well. So they knocked it all down, and I think it sort of went along behind these houses over here, behind Brenchley Gardens, so you can kind of get an idea of the route it took. But, you know, we're going this way. It's snowing, excellent. And we've come up here to One Tree Hill and look, a beacon, excellent. This beacon was put here for the Jubilee of King George VI. I think they lit it also for the Jubilee of, was it Diamond Jubilee? I don't know, some Jubilee anyway, who cares? But they also lit beacons up here to warn of the Spanish and the French invaders back in years gone by. And look here, they used to have a kind of gun. This one was actually for the First World War, to fire at Zeppelins coming over. Yeah, but there's no gun there now, but there used to be. Wow, this beautiful view from up here on a day when it's not snowing. There was a semaphore station here in the 1790s to signal the arrival of ships in the Thames. And over here, there's a very famous oak. I mean, this isn't the actual oak. I think the original oak tree that existed here in 1602 when Queen Elizabeth I, she famously picnicked here with Sir Richard Bulkeley. And some people say that she knighted the tree. I dub you Sir Tree. I dub thee. But this one has been replaced. This is a replacement oak tree. Anyway, lovely place for a picnic. Just here near the One Tree Hill, that we're on Walter's Way. Walter was Walter Seagal. No relation to Steven Seagal, I don't think. But Walter Seagal, I think he was an architect. But in 1984, Lewisham Council had bought all this land, but this land here wasn't really suitable for building big sort of tower blocks and proper houses on it. So he managed to persuade them to offer this land to people who could build their own properties on it. And they built them using this special technique that he had developed, sort of like IKEA like kind of
Modular stuff.
And you get these lovely ones, like this one looks like a sort of little tree house and stuff. And these people had no experience or little experience in building houses. And yet they've got these wonderful houses here. And Walter Seagal, he's the only architect to have 2 streets named after him. Actually, Seagal is probably named after Steven Seagal, let's face it, come on. Who also cooks. I just want to point out here, look on the Devonshire Road. So see, I know I like George VI ones because I don't see many of them. GRV1, and it's got one of these funny little things attached to it. So I don't know what it's for, that, but anyway, I like that. Points for that one. Let's go down the pub. Cheers, Simon. Cheers. Cheers, David. Cheers. Thanks. Cheers, everybody. If you enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to purchase my amazing book, Joolz Guides, London Walks. And I'll see you next time.